The Broncos are signing backup quarterback Sam Ehlinger to a one-year contract. So we're going to break this down, and then we have a lot of news to look at from the NFL owners meeting. But Sam Ehlinger, Texas legend, I best associate him with the Texas, I think it was USC game in 2017 when Joe Tessitore told us 5 different times, Texas is back, folks, and they were not back. But whenever breaking news happens, you know that we're going to get a video out to you more than anyone else will and quicker than anyone else will. So make sure to subscribe to the channel with the draft around the corner. And I really mean around the corner, just 24 days away. Don't miss any of our draft coverage. Hit that sub button down below if you haven't already. But Jordan Schultz, the first one on the news, that Colts backup quarterback Sam Ehlinger coming over to Denver to not be Bo Nix's backup, but to be Bo Nix's backup because they lost Zach Wilson in free agency. He went to Miami where he has a better chance to actually see the field, backing up Tua, who historically has missed time throughout his career. So Ehlinger comes over to the Broncos to be Denver's new third-string quarterback. He was a 6th-round draft pick by the Colts back in 2021 and started a couple of games for them in 2022. They weren't great, I'll be honest. I'm not going to try and sell Sam Ehlinger as some home run signing. I think we all know what we are getting here. It is a practice squad quarterback. I expect Denver to put 2 quarterbacks on their active 53-man roster unless they draft a quarterback or find a UDFA quarterback that just blows them away and they are afraid that another team will swoop in and take that player from their practice squad. So Ehlinger coming in, I think just more importantly to provide an arm for training camp and OTAs. You want to have 3 quarterbacks to get a good rotation going. And if I had to predict it right now, Sam Ehlinger will be this team's practice squad quarterback for 2025. Maybe another team signs him to their active roster if an injury pops up, but I don't have high expectations for this. It's a 53rd man on the roster type of situation where towards the bottom of the totem pole, but anytime a quarterback gets signed, that's going to move the needle a little bit. So to summarize, here's what Denver has done thus far in free agency. 2 quarterback signings now, a special team signing in Trent Sherfield, one of the 3 big splash moves, if you will. Splash sounds aggressive. I just think it's a cannonball move. And Evan Ingram, then you've got Matt Peart and Justin Stranad re-signing, and a pair of 49ers joining former 49er DJ Jones with Dre Greenlaw and Talanoa Hufanga, which, by the way, I was going to make today's video, and maybe I will make our next video about this. Dre Greenlaw, he was, I wouldn't say so close to going back to the San Francisco 49ers, but they wanted him so bad that they flew out to his home in Texas to make one last big pitch for him to come back to the Bay Area, and he picked Denver. So if you want a little, vote of confidence for where the team is headed right now, Greenlaw bypassing the 49ers to come play for the Broncos, and I don't think it came down to money. Now, how would you grade Denver's free agency so far? Give me an A, B, C, D, or F. They haven't made any trades. They've been, I wouldn't say too low-key in free agency. They've made 3, decent signings, but the biggest one being $45 million, so probably not even top 5 across all 32 teams, maybe top 10. This year's free agency class just wasn't that great because the salary cap went up so much that teams were able to re-sign a lot of their best players, and that created, a B-level market out there in free agency. So let me know what your grade is down below. Let's switch gears. Sorry, Sam. How much time do we get on Sam Ehlinger? 3 minutes? 3.5? That's a pretty good mark right there for Sam. So some notes and news and rumors from the owners meeting. The owners, by the way, are having their annual meeting in Florida, and the Broncos have been a notable topic of discussion. One topic being a potential new stadium coming on the horizon. So at the owners meeting, you also get to hear from the owners, which in this case is the controlling owner, Greg Penner, who, by the way, all-time marriage right there, marrying into the Waltons and getting to be the owner of the Denver Broncos. But Zach Stevens saying that Greg Penner said the Broncos would consider a dome or retractable roof stadium if they do build a new stadium. 2 quick thoughts on this. 1, I believe that we are going to see a dome stadium. 2, there were 3 locations that were named as potential destinations for a new stadium. Let's look at the map here. A little Dora the Explorer moment. 1 is its current location, which I think would be a good location for it. I like a nice downtown stadium they would likely just turn the parking lot into the new stadium and then turn the current stadium into the parking lot for the new stadium. The other two areas that were listed or mentioned by Penner were Aurora, which you can see is just an kind of eastern suburb of Denver, and then Lone Tree, which would be a little further south, but a little bit more space to work with. I'm not going to pretend to be some Denver real estate guru, but they're always looking for room with these new stadiums to build like campuses, right? To get bars, restaurants, hotels, and then the team owns all of that. So now they are profiting even more off all the transactions that happen pregame and postgame surrounding their event. So those are three areas to keep an eye on. The current stadium is 25 years old. I could see them starting to break ground on a new stadium in the 2030s. I think they're going to run through the rest of the decade with this current stadium. They did just put a ginormous new Jumbotron in. Now, they have shown that money is nothing to them. They paid $500,000 for one game of new turf. That's what $5K meant to them. A meaningless Week 18, 2022 home game. And they put brand new turf in that would only be used once for $500,000. So even if they wanted to build a new stadium on the Sooner side, I don't think the money of what they spent on that Jumbotron would get in the way. Plus, not a stadium or construction guy. I think you could pick up the Jumbotron and put it in the new stadium. I think you just got to unplug the power. That's probably an HDMI cord or two as well. So let me know, do you want a dome stadium? I've got bad news for those that don't. This is the direction the NFL is headed. Ownership that has the money to build and finance a stadium, which the Broncos ownership is richer than the second, third, and fourth owners in the NFL combined. So if they want a dome stadium, a couple of taxpayer dollars from the city of Denver and the state of Colorado is not going to get in the way of that. And I suspect they would like one to have year-round events in this stadium of theirs. The next topic I want to discuss from the owners' meeting is some running back draft chatter. So we have George and Sean Payton along with Greg Penner speaking today. And George Payton along with Sean Payton talked about some of what to expect a little bit. Let's go to the player credit all three real quick here, Moose here, because we've got George Payton talking about what they are kind of thinking and eyeing in the NFL draft because we know they're going to go running back. It's just a question of when. And I thought this comment from George Payton really jumped out to me, saying, quote, "You can get a good back from the second round to the sixth round." So there's two ways of looking at this. One, you could take him at his word. And if you're taking him at his word, he's implying we're not going to force a running back in round one. The other way of looking at it is they want other teams to think we may not go running back round one. And that could kind of mess with their draft strategy a little bit. I'm leaning towards George Payton is not going to tell everyone 24 days ahead of the draft, we're not going to go running back in round one because we're comfortable with the backs in rounds 2 through 6. I don't know what he has to gain by showing his cards that way. My gut tells me if they want a running back in round one, him saying they like backs in rounds 2 through 6 is not going to get in the way of that. He might be creating a little escape hatch for him where if they don't get a running back in round one, he can always circle back to, listen, we always said we liked the backs in round 2 in case there's any public pressure to get a running back earlier in the draft. So that's what's going on the running back side of things. Now, switching gears a little bit here, Sean Payton talked about Courtland Sutton as he is looking for a new contract extension. We got this from Parker Gabriel. No timeline on a potential receiver Courtland Sutton extension, but said he's excited that Sutton will be around for the Broncos offseason program. Remember, last year, Sutton skipped a lot of the voluntary stuff, the OTAs, but then showed up for mandatory stuff to avoid fines. I think a Sutton extension is going to get done. He's got 1 year left on his contract. He's coming off a 1,000-yard season with 8 touchdowns. He was Bo Nix's number 1 target, and I believe he showed us over the past 2 seasons he still has some good football left in the tank. My money would be on a 2-year contract extension, probably paying him around $20-ish million a season. So at the moment, that's what my gut lean towards when it's what's next for Courtland Sutton. He's going to be 30 in October, and Denver might be afraid of that and decide we're not going to get anything done preseason. This could be something that gets done in the regular season, but a lot of times when we get to the stage of a negotiating period, the player will tell the team, "Hey, you have it up until the start of the season. After that, talks are off the table, and I'm not going to negotiate again until March." Because at that stage, they're not looking to bail out the team with a cheaper, friendly team option mid-season because they didn't want to commit to him back in July or August. All right, make sure you check out this Broncos draft hat, by the way. I think the Rocky Mountain emblem is top 5 for all 32 teams. Obviously, every team's going to be a little partial to the emblem they have, but I think it's pretty sick. So if you like it, go to chatsports.com/DEN hat. I put that link in the comments and description of today's video. So to summarize some of the notes we had from the NFL owners meeting here, we got the new stadium kind of on watch right now, some running back draft chatter, and a Courtland Sutton slight update. The Broncos said, or Chris Thomason said, that there will be no negotiations done between now and the NFL draft. So keep an eye on an extension for sometime in May, June, July, or August. But to really wrap up the video here and circle back to the running back portion of the show, some names to keep an eye on at either pick 20 or in round 2. Running back out of Iowa, Caleb Johnson. This is my number 2 back in the draft after Ashton Jeanty, which I know no one's got a crystal ball and no one's 100% when it comes to the draft, but there were one too many people that I think just wanted to think outside the box and not be a square and just pick Ashton Jeanty as the number 1 back in the draft. This is a major don't be a smartest guy in the room moment and just look at what Ashton Jeanty did last year and take it at his word. Now, another back to keep an eye on is Omarion Hampton. There's been way more traction around Denver and Hampton than Johnson and the Broncos. So I would keep a closer eye on him at pick number 20. There's a better chance he goes in round 1 than Caleb Johnson does. So if they miss on Hampton, it could be Johnson in round 2, but I think he's going to go earlier than where Denver is picking in round number 2. So let's wrap up the video with this. Who do you want the Broncos to draft? I've got a name in mind. I'm going to count down from 3. Let's see if you and I say the same player. I think we did this once before, but it's always good to kind of refresh a little bit as we get closer to the NFL draft. So, 3, 2, 1, Caleb Johnson. I know that's not a commonly mocked name at pick number 20 for Denver, but I think he's going to be excellent at the next level, and I think it'd be a fantastic pick for the Broncos at 20.